So I called a Christian debating atheists, like 20 atheists. One Christian, they brought one Christian, and then they brought like 20 atheists. As I said in a previous video about atheism, I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of dumb. But as I always say, let's hear them out, innit? Let's hear them out. So on today's video, we're gonna be watching Jordan Peterson. He's a famous Christian, I don't know, something like that, debating atheist. So let's stop the yapping.
Thank you.
Yeah, good. My final claim is that atheists accept Christian morality, but deny the religion's foundational stories.
Facts.
Hi there.
It's very nice to meet you.
What's your name?
I'm Ian.
Hi, Ian.
Yes. So God says that you can own people as property. He says that you can beat them with a rod too. He commands genocide in Deuteronomy, in Numbers, and in Samuel. I mean, they have a goddamn baby barbecue in Numbers. Like, is all of this in line with Christian ethics?
No.
So then God doesn't fit within Christian ethics.
Well, the biblical library is a continuing story, and everything written in it has to be contextualized by the entire text. There's 65,000 hyperlinks in the biblical text. And you can take pieces of it out of context and criticize them, and that's what you're doing. But that's a mistake, I think. It's an analytic mistake because you're putting the cart before the horse.
I really don't think so. I think that if we say that something is Christian ethics, then I think that all of the books essential to Christianity would fit with it, especially if it's like the main character. When we're talking about
How do you deal with the morality of war?
So
how do you think you should deal with the morality of war?
Sure. Because I feel like the morality, like I feel like Christian ethics, like this is kind of, I guess I just think it's like kind of an absurdity to say that God doesn't fit within Christian ethics, but sure, well, we can go on my ethics, that's totally fine.
I don't know what you mean by an absurdity. What game are you playing with?
Well, I just think that it's an absurdity to say that the Christian God doesn't fit within Christian ethics, that like the Christian God isn't like Christian ethical.
I said that the specific statements that you made don't take the context of the stories into account, and so that your analytical approach is faulty.
Sure.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Sure, then let's go to the example. Yeah.
And don't forget, I'm sorry, you know I like to talk a lot, but don't forget the statement was that atheists believe in Christian morality, but they deny its foundation. You see me? So yeah. What I'm trying to say is that my man just came and started talking about God said God, but then the statement was that these people agree with the morality of the Christian faith, if you can call it that. I just call it truth because it's just truth. Like you don't like the in one of the epistles it says that in the new covenant the law of the Lord is not just spoken or written, is also written in our hearts. And we all know in our hearts when you kill a person, like it's something that is wrong, because that's something that dwelleth in us, is truth, and it dwelleth in us. So atheists also believe in Christian moralities, but then they deny the foundations of it. That's what my man is saying, just for context.
Oh, and I apologize. So let's go through the example. So in 1 Samuel 15:3, God says, go and slaughter the Amalekites, slaughter the men, the women, the children, the infants. What's the justification for that? Is that in line with Christian ethics?
That's a good question. I don't really know what to do with the terrible, blood-soaked, saturated history of the human past. I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows. I mean, what you try to do in your own life, as far as I can tell, is to conduct yourself in a manner that makes such things much more unlikely.
I totally agree.
We're all saddled with the problem of the catastrophes that got us here, aren't we?
Yeah, but this one was commanded by God. That's the problem. Yeah, that's what differentiates it from.
By the way, those people were like evil, like they giving themselves to certain spirits. So we are humans, like we are vessels that hold spirits, and those people they gave themselves away to certain spirits. So just for context, yeah.
Is that this one, it's God saying go and do this atrocity.
Do you think that there's ever such a thing as just war?
And if God is God, who are we to question what he says? If we acknowledge that he is God, like who are we, bro? Like if he tells me today, like kill myself, I know that he loves me. I have a good revelation of him as a lover unto me. So I know that even that he has a greater reason for that. Like for example, God allowed Job to go through the sufferings in it, and he knew that if Job endured the sufferings, he will get a promotion. He already knew in his mind. God allowed Jesus to be persecuted by men because he wanted to pay the sacrifice God operates at his own wisdom, and we have this limited wisdom, and we try to comprehend God with our own wisdom, and it actually destroys us. That's why a lot of people go to atheism and start believing that there is no God, and which is stupidity. It's foolishness, and I'm allowed to say that it's foolishness because the word of God says that the basis of wisdom, the beginning of wisdom, is the fear of the Lord. And fear stems from acknowledgement that something has authority over you. So for someone to say that there is no God, that's stupidity, that's foolishness. And I'm saying it out loud, and I don't care. The Bible said so, so I'm gonna say it too. Fool.
I'm skeptical. I'm not sure.
The fools despise wisdom.
Well, right, fair enough.
But this one certainly wasn't a just war. The context for the Amalekite slaughter is that 400 years earlier, they fought one battle, which they lost, and God says, that's it, I'm going to wipe them off the face of the goddamn earth. And then 400 years later, he commands the Israelites to genocide their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren. That's not a just war at all. And also, a genocide is not a war.
Well, a genocide can be a war, but...
Absolutely not.
Look,
the genociding of the Amalekites, the men, the women, and the infants, that's not a war. The infants aren't combatants.
Look, I already said that it's very difficult to look at the blood-soaked past and to know exactly what to do about it. The answer I gave to the gentleman who is sitting here before you is that it's necessary to read a text like the Bible at all of its levels of analysis simultaneously. And there's a directional morality that emerges across time that has its roots in the Old Testament, for example, with its restrictions against murder specifically, that makes itself manifest in the Christian texts as the insistence on voluntary self-sacrifice as the foundational belief. That's a profoundly anti-violence ethos.
Do you have the belief in your theology?
Well, what do you think of that? Wait a sec. Now, redress what I just said.
So I'm about to address it, but I'm addressing it with a question. Do you think that God is by his very essence perfect?
You'll have to provide more.
Sure, just like maximally great and all like the great making qualities.
Sure.
Yeah, like flawless. Yeah. So,
okay,
so does a flawless thing change? Does a flawless thing reveal like more and better information over time? Or would a flawless thing say, here's what's good, here is the absolute good thing to do at all circumstances in time?
Well, we know some of that.
Wait,
Tell
so
the truth. That's one.
That's totally fine, but presumably...
No. You don't get to skate over that. That's totally fine.
It's a straw man of my position. It's a straw man of the argument. So the
argument
is that God...
wait a sec. You said find one maxim that's transcendent across situations.
I didn't say any of those words. I'm not sure what conversation you're a part of.
Don't be a smartass.
I'm sorry.
Seriously. I mean it. If we're going to have a serious conversation, conduct yourself properly. Okay. Rephrase your question because I must have missed it. I tried to answer it.
So in my mind, I guess by my lights, a perfect being doesn't change. A perfect being, if they're maximally good, maximally moral.
Does our understanding of the perfect being change?
Our understanding might, but presumably what the perfect being is revealing.
Well, I agree. How do we distinguish between that, though, at the human level?
How do we distinguish between whether...
Between our transforming understanding of perfection and perfection itself.
Between our...
we can only see through our own lenses.
Presumably a perfect being would be revealing all of these aspects. Especially if God's outside of time. I don't know how a God who's outside of time is revealing different things at different times. That just seems like incoherent to me.
Imagine something that's perfect.
Sure.
And complete.
Sure.
Okay, and it's trying to communicate with creatures who are anything but that.
Sure.
Well, they're going to get it wrong.
Sure.
Okay, now wait a sec. Do you blame that on the interpreters or the phenomena itself? For example, are you perfect in attending to your conscience?
Hold on. At the point in time when God is literally the one who created us, he could have created us in a way where we would always be receptive to these principles, where we don't have to go across like a learning curve where, maybe we'll understand like thousands of years into the future, maybe we'll do it. Oh, also, if you believe in an all-knowing God, then free will is impossible because
if you believe in an all-knowing God, free will is impossible. How do they... What's the correlation, bruv? What's the correlation, bruv? What are you saying, cuz? What's the correlation? You cannot say knowledge. Okay.
Free will into the mix.
Well, that was the answer to your question.
Yeah, and
you said, why wouldn't God... Well,
it's
1,000 years of deep-thinking philosophers would disagree with you.
And 1,000 years of, or at least like the last 50 years of philosophers would disagree with you. These are philosophers.
And how do you define perfection? How do you define perfection? That's a good one. That's a good one.
Graham often make arguments
And how do you define good? That's a good one. Because as an atheist, as a Christian, I define good, but what God told us to do. Whatever that God told us to do, I believe that is good. And whatever that God didn't tell us to do, I believe that is bad. My basis of judgment of good and bad is based on the word of God and the will of God and how God designed and what God designed. So if an atheist You're saying that there's no God. Okay, that's a true claim for one. And the second thing, where do you get your the basis of your judgment to say this is good and bad? If you're saying that it comes from your brain, yeah, it destroys even the judgmental, the judgment is a judgment, yeah, yeah, the whole is it jurist, I don't know what it's called, like the whole thing of crime and all those things. Because if there's no basis of good and bad, then we cannot say that whatever that someone did is bad and whatever that someone did is good. You see me? You understand what I'm saying? Like for you to commit a crime, you have to go against the law, which is the basis of our judgment. To say that if you go against the law or if you disobey the law, you're doing something bad and then there's a punishment for that, you know. So yeah, think about that.
Of omniscience and free will, that if God created this world, if he chose this world instead of that world, then he makes it causally inevitable every single action that you were going to make. If he made a world where we were just electrons in love, then none of this would have happened. But by making us in this world, knowing exactly what's going to happen in the future, it makes all of those events inevitable, which means that they're all causally determined, which means that we have no free will if you believe in an all-good God or an all-knowing God that made everything.
Well, have it your way.
Okay, cool. So then the free will theodicy fails.
Well, it fails for you. That doesn't mean you've disproved it. I mean,
you
tried to make
the argument?
Yes, you tried to make a case for a causally deterministic universe. I don't think there's any evidence for that at all.
Do you think that God could have created a different universe than the one that he created?
I have no idea.
Okay, so then there's going to be a double bind, right? So either he couldn't have done it, in which case he lacks a power, or he could have done it, in which case he has free will.
Or you're just saying that and you want to bring God to your standard. Maybe. Think about that.
This world instead of that world, making the events of this world instead of that world inevitable with his infallible knowledge.
I don't understand where you're headed.
Well, it just means that the free will defense fails. Like all this, like under your
said,
view,
if
under
you want
your
to have
view,
it
free
fail,
will.
no problem. I don't know why it's relevant to the issue we're
Do you
discussing.
acknowledge that under your view, free will doesn't exist?
No.
Oh, then do you want to respond to the argument?
You'll have to phrase it more
Sure,
clearly
okay.
so that someone like me can understand it.
Yeah, gotcha. So God already knows in advance everything that's going to happen, which means that by making this world instead of that world, everything is inevitable, which means that God's act of causing this world instead of that
Inevitable
world.
doesn't mean determined.
It's causally inevitable if God chooses this world instead of that world.
Doesn't make it determined.
Causally inevitable.
If we created this world knowing what's going to happen and creating everything and in the way that he created it, that doesn't mean that we don't have free will. He created us to have free will, and he knew that he will have free will. That is why he said that you are fearfully and wonderfully created. You see me? Because we have the opportunity to deny him. You know, we have the free will to choose not to be with him, not to submit to him, and that path leads to death, because he's the only life that we have. So whatever that he's saying, that in God knowing what's going to happen, that means we don't have free will. Are we thinking?
It's determined.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely, yes, it does.
Well, have it your way.
Okay.
That's not the case.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Jordan, nice to meet you.
Very zippy. What's your name?
I'm Liam.
Hi, Liam. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm
good.
surrounded by atheists.
My question to you, let me scoot in, would be, what does it mean to accept Christian values precisely, or Christian morality?
It means to aim up as hard as you can, no matter what happens to you.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think that that's a very broad definition of what Christian
Yeah, but
morality
it'll come
is.
in handy at some point in your life.
Right. But I think that many different disciplines and theologies.
Well, you asked for a truncated answer. Eh? I
Right.
mean, there's other ways of representing the
Yeah.
situation, but I wanted to give you something that was kind of foundational briefly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't mean it's, exhaustive.
Yeah.
I could say that you would have to believe that Christ is God and he died for your sins,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's, in a very difficult way to understand, that's the same claim.
Yeah. If there are other theologies and disciplines
Yeah.
that have similar types of values,
Yeah?
how then is that definition mean? Like, wouldn't those also be Christian values under your definition? of
That's a
Christian?
good question. I spent a lot of time studying different religious systems from all over the world and found multiple interesting layers of concordance.
Right.
So, for example, in ancient Egypt, their god Horus, who was the reviving god of the totalitarian state, the corrupt he was the god of attention. right? And the Jews hypothetically came out of Egypt, and there was crosstalk between Egyptian and Jewish foundational morality, and then that bled into Christianity. I mean, human beings all over the world have come up with moral systems that fit roughly into a pattern, and they're very usefully studied. I learned a lot about Christianity by studying Taoism, for example, like a lot. So I think you can make a case that Christianity formalized the landscape of good and evil more comprehensively and in more detail than any other religious system. And I think that that's part of the reason that it defeated paganism and spread so broadly across the West and is still dominant, still understructures our culture, for example.
The way you feel about Horus or Taoism or something is how I feel about Christian morals, I think.
Yeah, but how do I feel about them?
Well, that you took inspiration from them, you learned from them. Maybe
that's a good start,
right.
Because I would say that actually constitutes belief. Like you said, well, look,
Right.
in Noah, in the story of Noah, right? Noah is inspired by the apprehension that all hell is going to break loose. Okay,
Yeah.
he regards that inspiration as God.
Okay.
Right, and when God comes to Abraham, he comes to Abraham as the spirit of adventure. It's inspiration. One of the definitions of God in the Old Testament, unsurprisingly given the derivation of the word, is inspiration. And so if you take inspiration from Christian ideas, then insofar as you do that, you are in fact a believer, which was my point with regards to atheists
Correct.
not understanding.
But have
what
you
they're
taken
rejecting.
inspiration from Taoism or from studying Egyptian mythology?
Definitely.
So then you believe them under that definition?
Yeah, but I've incorporated them into something I think that's more comprehensive.
Is it possible to take inspiration and to appreciate the teachings without being a believer in their truth claims?
It depends. No, I don't think so. But I think, you see, there are different kinds of truth claims, right? There's propositional truth claims, which are the truth claims of what you say. And then there's embodied truth claims, which is the truth claims of what you do. That should be prioritized. Optimally, what you say and what you do would be brought into harmony. But I would say if you had to prioritize, it should be what you attend to and what you act first. And that's what Christ actually says in the Gospels, because he points to the Pharisees, for example, who say all the right things, but don't do any of the right things, and points out very clearly that that's not acceptable.
I don't know that the Christian morality, those principles originate in Christianity, because you brought up other things that predate Christianity that you can very closely tie connections to.
Well, I don't think they do originate precisely. I mean,
Right.
I don't think the Christian claim is exactly that they originate in Christianity.
So if I'm
right? Because-
living those values, how is it that I'm living the Christian values and maybe not the Egyptian values or something else?
Well,
that you
one
brought
of
up?
the,
Pause there. You've been voted out by
that was
majority.
good. That was good. Yeah.
Hi.
Hello there. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
I'm Kumari. So I was curious about this Christian morality that you're talking about, because a lot of my issues with Christianity have to do with the base morality of it, specifically with the idea of the rapture and how we see people that aren't going to come up with us with the rapture, and that concept of heaven and hell. I don't really agree with that morality, but if you could explain that to me and how I do agree with that, I would love to hear.
Well,
your
I
opinions.
can't explain the rapture to you because that isn't something I concern myself with, and that's more of a
That's true.
sectarian belief than something that's central to Christianity. Now, there's all sorts of evangelical Protestants who might disagree with that, but that doesn't have anything to do with me. You asked a deeper question with regard to, let's say, heaven and hell and judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one, right? I mean, sin, you could put it this way, sin is what puts you in hell, right? And so then you might ask, well, how do you know you're in hell? How about you do anything to get out of it?
Can I ask you
How
a
about you
question?
know that you put yourself there?
Do you think, is sin a part of Christian morality?
What
to
do you mean exactly? Sin as a part.
the
It's
concept
missing the
of sin?
Okay,
Yeah.
it's derived from an archery term, and it means to miss the target, right? And so it presumes that there's such a thing as a central target, and that you can miss it in many ways. And the consequence of that will be your life will be ridden with anxiety. Your life will be pointless.
What
People
if
will
I
turn against you.
don't believe in sin at all?
Well, do you believe in error?
I
Have you
don't.
made any mistakes?
What if I believe that the mistakes that you make, that they're fixable, and so that no sin is finite, and that the
Well,
idea
that's a Christian belief.
of the idea of hell, I don't believe
No, that's
in
also
it.
a
because
Christian belief, by the way.
A Christian belief is hell.
No, that there's no sin that, well, there's one. The sin against the Holy Ghost is unforgivable, but that's really the sin against the process that would enable you to learn.
Okay. But there's a Christian belief that hell does exist, and if I commit sin, I'm going to go there, correct?
Yes.
So what if I don't believe in that? Like I
Well,
think
okay, let me
that when
ask
you,
you- okay,
can I
that's
explain
good.
a little bit?
Sure, sure.
Okay. I think that when you commit sin, that it's because of a lot of environmental factors in your life, like where you were born and who you were raised by. And so there are certain things that lead you down a dangerous path. And once you are dead, I think you're kind of removed of that person. There's no like,
I
there
can't
are no
say any-
factors
I can't
of the
say
earth
anything
that have
about
to.
what happens after death.
Right.
So I would ask you, in these times that you've suffered terribly in ways that you thought would never
Yeah.
end, do you believe that you had any causal role in that? Like, did you play a part in that?
In my own suffering.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes I would say that
Okay.
there was a part that I played
well,
in
that's-
that.
okay,
but I
that's
also
the thing
do
to
think
find
that,
out.
I think that maybe it's like a concept of free will that I don't really believe in somewhat of free will, that I think that there are certain things in your life that lead you to do certain behaviors. And so when you commit those sins, you go to hell. I'm not too sure why you would still be
When you
reaping the
okay,
consequences of that.
like I said, I can't
Yeah.
address that. Do you believe that you can change?
I do.
Do you believe you can change for the better?
I do.
Do you believe that when you change for the better, you abandon the things you've done in the past that weren't good?
I think that you can.
Okay, then
Yeah.
that's very much in keeping with Christian doctrine.
Can you explain to me how that's in keeping with Christian
you
doctrine?
believe
If you would go to hell for
okay,
those things?
You believe you can improve,
Yeah.
right? And you believe that if you improved, you would let go of things that were impeding you. That's a sacrifice. You believe that improvement would be upward, and you believe that you have agency in that. Yeah, those are all Christian presuppositions.
I guess maybe we have different opinions of what Christian morality is.
Yes, sounds
so
like
I think
it.
that my opinion of Christian morality is something that I don't really agree with, and maybe you would define that as like the foundations
Well,
of
let
Christianity.
me give you an
Yeah.
example. So if you want to atone, which
Yeah.
means to unify yourself and unify that with the world, then the first thing you have to do is figure out what you did wrong and admit it. That's a confession. That was good.
Thank you.
I love.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, I love this. I love this. It was beautiful to watch. And I believe that everyone who watched this like learned. I learned a lot, didn't it? And but I was yapping a lot. But yeah, that's that. For this video, I won't go further because like of certain things, unfortunately. But please like and subscribe so that I can like do live streams and all those stuff, and then we can chat. And probably like I could have a live stream with one of you lot who are watching, you know, so that we just converse about these things, or like an atheist, like that will be cool in it. Yeah, I love you guys, and I hope that this like brought you wisdom, and now you will understand and be able to, for my Christian people, like to be able to speak against the false theologies or the false teachings of atheism and all the stuff. Yeah, and for you atheists, I hope that like your eyes are opening, bro. Yeah, slowly but surely. Yeah, I hope that you get in there and realizing that like it makes more sense that there is a God, and rather than there's no God, and that there's morality, and the laws are written in our hearts. I love you guys. Let me know, chat a lot. Yeah.